go. Welcome back to Truth Talk for part 2 of The Time Is Not Near. The time is now.
And it definitely is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely getting closer. We don't know, of course, the hour, but he does say we will know the season. And from what I can tell, the season is now.
It is. Okay, so this is going to be talking about birth pains. And Jesus in Matthew 24, 7 through 8, he says, "For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of sorrows," which can be, the beginning of sorrows can be interpreted like the beginning of birth pains.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so basically what kicked off the nation rising against nation was World War I, started on July 28th, 1914, and ended on November 11th, 1918. And then you also had World War II, which started on September 1st, 1939, and ended on September 2nd, 1945. And the interesting thing about these is this is the first time ever that there was actually a global war. There's never been a global war besides these two world wars.
Right. So, like the Bible verse says, for nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And that was the first time that happened. And it said, these will be the beginning of your sorrows.
And then the crazy part is, then World War II happened, the second war. So there was two world wars that happened, which is very crazy.
Which is kind of cool. So World War II ended in 45, and Israel became a nation in 1948.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is World War II is when you had Hitler, and he was trying to get rid of all the Jews, and who would have known that 3 years later they were going to become a nation? Like, who would have thought?
And it wasn't even a mixed nation,
right?
And they still spoke the same language, and well, I shouldn't say it's crazy because it's prophesied, but in my little brain, it's pretty crazy.
The crazy part is, like, after 2,000 years, they were brought back together.
2,000 years, yeah.
And so the other thing is, like, famines right now. And so, as you can see on this chart, from like 2003 and to 2010, I mean, it's pretty steep right now.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about, you have, like, in 2010, 900 million children who are hungry.
I know. I mean, that just breaks my heart.
Yeah.
And they're talking about now, like, big famines are coming because of what has happened with the COVID.
Yep, but this is going to be a forced one. It's basically a forced famine. It's not a natural famine.
That will be a good video. We could talk about that one.
Oh, yeah, it definitely will be.
What they're doing to force a famine.
Yeah, it will be. And so the next thing is pestilence. And so as you can see from the 4 charts we have, I mean, the pestilence, these are all from like 1980 and to 2010. And as you can see, they are all on the rise.
I mean, every one of them.
I mean, that's what Jesus would say would happen, is that it would be, there'd be pestilence and stuff in the last days, like the kick off birth pains, and we're just seeing them increase.
Like I was saying the other day, someday we might look back at the COVID, which right now, we think it's so awful, but there have been people that died from it, so I'm not dismissing that part. But for those of us that basically we haven't seen any sickness close to us, and the bad thing that's happened with us, the loss of jobs or not being able to go places we want to go. But someday those pestilences are going to be so much worse than what we're dealing with now. It's going to be like, we thought that was so bad then.
Yeah, just wait till tribulation.
Yeah. And
that's going to be really bad during that time.
Right. But we as Christians, the church, will not be here. So.
Yeah, we will be raptured away before the tribulation. And so the other thing Jesus was talking about is earthquakes. And so do you want to go ahead and start this one off?
Yeah, so in 1973, there were 5,000 earthquakes that were 2.5 in magnitude or greater. And in 2003, there were close to 25,000 earthquakes that were 2.5 or greater. That's 20,000 difference.
That is pretty crazy.
Yeah, big time. And so between 1940 and 1949, there were under 500 earthquakes that were 5.6 or greater, and between 2010 and 2019, there were over 4,000 earthquakes that were 5.6 or greater.
I mean, basically, this is just what Jesus, exactly what he was talking about.
Right, that they will continue, just like a woman in labor. Usually the contractions start out pretty far apart, and then as the labor continues, those birth pains contractions, they get smaller and closer. Or I shouldn't say smaller, but they get closer together.
And we are seeing that right now.
Yeah, and the magnitude gets bigger, but they get closer.
Exactly.
Yeah. The turn of the 20th century marked a significant increase in the number of deaths caused by great earthquakes, thus sharply increasing the sorrow and pain inflicted. About 1.3 million people died from great earthquakes in the 1900s. That trend has continued into the 21st century with almost 800,000 deaths. So that means from January 1st, 2001, that was the beginning of the 21st century, until now, 800,000 deaths.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of, compared to the 20th century where they had, 1.3 million through the whole century. Yeah. So, we're going to climb to that pretty quick, I have a feeling.
Yeah, the crazy part is we're barely even into the 21st century. And so they were talking
19
about,
years.
I think they were talking about, like, if the trend would keep going, we'd be at close to, like, 5 million deaths or somewhere around there, what they predicted.
Yeah.
What they predicted, so that's pretty crazy with all that kind of stuff. And so this is basically, like, just events happening around the world. And as you can see, like, it has gone up tremendously from where it has been. So that's pretty crazy just when you look at everything that's happened. Like, you look at, all the earthquakes that have happening, like we just showed you. You have, I mean, we didn't even talk about this, but you have all the hurricanes and all that kind of stuff too. You have all the flooding happening and just, like, the extreme temperature and droughts and just everything that's happening right now. So
that's why it's good to have these graphs side by side, because you can really see the rise in it.
Yeah, it's just pretty crazy that everything what Jesus has said has came to pass.
Yep.
So I guess, this is going to do it for this video, but we just want to take, make a short video about the birth pains and just showing, that the birth pains are getting, closer and closer, the contractions are, and it's coming to an end pretty quick.
Yeah, if you've ever had a baby or someone that's had a baby, so you have the contractions and the birth pains, and then what they call the crowning of the head when the baby's getting ready to come out. And my opinion, I feel like the baby's head is either just about ready to crown or it is crowned and it's about ready to be push time. So just keep looking up, as the Bible says.
Yeah, because our redemption draws near.
That's right.
And then going to that, when you, especially like what Jesus is talking about, the birth pains, when you see what has happened in the past 2 months and 3 months, it's pretty mind-blowing to see.
It's mind-blowing that it could go from 0 to 60 that quickly.
Yeah, but when the birth pains do start getting closer and closer, this stuff will start happening.
Yeah, it's it's prophecy. So
it is.
All right, well, thanks again for joining us today, and we will be back shortly with a new video. Until then, if you have any prayer requests or any questions, please leave those in the comments below, and we'll be sure and get back to you. All right, guys, thanks for coming. See you later.
See ya.